Imagine stepping into a world so untamed, so alive with raw power, that it feels like the pages of a myth brought to life. Long before our ancestors wandered out of Africa's sunlit plains, another group of humans, our cousins, the Neanderthals, were forging their existence in the rugged, icy expanses of Europe and Asia. These weren't just people scraping by. They were masters of a landscape filled with creatures that could haunt your dreams, towering beasts and predators that could end you in a heartbeat. Yet, for hundreds of thousands of years, the Neanderthals didn't just survive. They thrived, carving out a life among animals that sound like they belong in a prehistoric epic. Welcome to the human wild, where we're diving into the strange, awe-inspiring, and sometimes terrifying creatures that shared the Neanderthal world. This is the first chapter of a series exploring the incredible animals humanity's ancestors encountered. And trust me, you're in for a journey that'll leave you speechless. Let's start with the Neanderthals themselves, the beating heart of this story. Picture a people built for survival in a world that didn't pull punches. They first appeared around 430,000 years ago in what's now Spain, likely descending from Homo heidelbergensis, a shared ancestor with us modern humans, though our paths split continents apart. By 300,000 years ago, the Neanderthals we'd recognize today were striding across Europe and into Central and Western Asia. They were shorter than us. Males averaged about 5 foot 5 inches, but don't let that fool you. These folks were powerhouses, weighing 155 to 175 pounds, with broad shoulders, dense bones, and muscles that could put a modern athlete to shame. Their bodies were sculpted by a life of constant challenge, from frigid winters to face-offs with beasts most of us would run from screaming. What set them apart wasn't just their strength. It was their ingenuity. These weren't the club-wielding cavemen of old cartoons. They crafted tools that, honestly, I'd struggle to make today. We're talking razor-sharp stone spear points, knives that could slice through the toughest hides, and wooden javelins that were works of art in their own right. At a site in Germany called Schöningen, archaeologists uncovered wooden spears over 400,000 years old, proof they were building sophisticated weapons long before anyone thought possible. These tools weren't just for show. Neanderthals wielded heavy thrusting spears for close encounters and lighter javelins for distance, combining their athletic builds with deadly precision. They were hunters in every sense, facing down creatures that could crush bones or tear flesh with a single swipe. Their world was a theater of survival, a place where every day tested their courage. How do we know? Their bones tell a brutal story. A 2016 study examined 124 Neanderthal skeletons and found scars that make you wince just thinking about them. Claw marks, bite wounds, crushed bones. These weren't clumsy falls. They were the marks of a life lived among predators. About 36% of their injuries came from bears, 21% from big cats, and 17% from wolves. Imagine carrying the scars of a bear's claw or a lion's bite, yet still heading out to hunt the next day. That's the kind of resilience we're talking about. But this isn't just a tale of struggle. It's one of triumph. Neanderthals didn't just survive these animals. They hunted them, turned their pelts into clothing, their bones into tools, and their meat into sustenance. As we step into their world, let's meet the first group of creatures that made their lives both thrilling and terrifying: the predators. The predators of the Neanderthal world were the stuff of nightmares, each one a testament to nature's raw power. At the top of the heap were cave lions, beasts that dwarfed their modern cousins. These weren't your average lions. They were 25% larger, with males tipping the scales at 330 to 550 pounds, some even hitting 660 pounds. Picture a lion the size of a small bear, with claws and teeth built to bring down everything from bison to young mammoths. They roamed the open plains and dense forests, their roars echoing through the valleys. But here's where it gets wild. Neanderthals didn't just steer clear of these monsters, they went after them. In Germany, a 48,000-year-old cave lion skeleton was found with a telltale mark on its ribs, the kind left by a wooden spear driven deep. Some Neanderthal, armed with nothing more than a sharpened stick, took down a predator that could have torn them apart. Afterward, they butchered the lion, likely feeding a whole group, and there's evidence from 190,000 years ago that they skinned these cats, maybe even wearing their pelts like badges of honor. Cave lions weren't the only big cats stalking the shadows. Leopards prowled Europe during the last glacial period, larger than today's but just as stealthy, their spotted coats blending into the underbrush. We don't have much direct evidence of Neanderthal leopard encounters, but their bones at Neanderthal sites tell us they were out there, watching. Then there were Caspian tigers, solitary hunters that roamed the regions around the Caspian Sea and deep into Siberia, where Neanderthals also lived. Unlike the social cave lions, tigers were lone assassins, known for stalking humans even in modern times. A Neanderthal alone in the wilderness would have been easy prey for these silent killers. And don't forget the European jaguar, weighing up to 460 pounds, or the scimitar cat, Homotherium, with its long, curved canines that could slice through arteries like a hot knife through butter. At 330 to 550 pounds, even a smaller Homotherium was twice the weight of most Neanderthals, making it a predator you didn't want to cross. But the danger didn't stop at big cats. Cave hyenas were just as terrifying, about 20% larger than modern spotted hyenas, weighing 175 to 220 pounds. With jaws that could crush the biggest bones, these pack hunters were relentless, harassing even lions in Africa today. At sites like La Chapelle and Les Perdels, Neanderthal bones bear hyena bite marks. Some so heavily chewed it's clear the hyenas didn't just scavenge. They feasted. Neanderthals and hyenas were rivals, competing for the same prey and cave spaces. Imagine defending your kill in a dark, frigid cave as a pack of hyenas circles, their eerie laughs bouncing off the walls. It's the kind of scene that makes you glad to be watching from the comfort of the present. Then there were the cave bears, absolute giants that could weigh up to 1,300 pounds and stand 10 feet tall on their hind legs. Surprisingly, these bears were mostly vegetarian, feasting on roots, nuts, and fruits. But don't let that fool you. A startled or defensive cave bear was a force of nature, with a massive skull, deadly claws, and a temper to match. That 36% of Neanderthal injuries from bears? Many likely came from these titans, especially in caves where both sought shelter. Yet, at a site called Rio Sivo in Italy, we've got evidence that Neanderthals hunted these bears, sneaking into caves during hibernation to strike. Picture creeping into a dark cave, spear in hand, knowing a half-awake giant could wake up swinging. That's the kind of courage that defined the Neanderthals, and it's what carried them into the next chapter of their story. The massive herbivores that roamed their world. The herbivores of the Neanderthal world were like something out of a prehistoric safari, each one a giant that shaped the landscape itself. First up were the aurochs, the wild ancestors of modern cattle. These beasts could weigh up to 2,200 pounds, with long, curving horns that could gore any predator or hunter foolish enough to get too close. They roamed Europe well into medieval times, but for Neanderthals they were a staple. Their bones, found at Neanderthal sites, bear cut marks from stone tools, proof that these hunters could bring down animals twice their size. Then there was the Irish elk, a name that's a bit misleading since it was actually a massive deer. Imagine an animal slightly larger than a modern moose, but with antlers stretching 12 feet from tip to tip, twice the width of any moose today. Those antlers were both a weapon and a challenge. And given that modern moose are more dangerous than grizzly bears, Neanderthals had to be strategic to hunt these giants. Woolly rhinoceroses were another sight to behold, weighing between 3,300 and 6,600 pounds, with a front horn up to 3.3 feet long. Covered in shaggy fur, they were like living tanks, charging through the Ice Age tundra. Cave art from later humans shows just how majestic they were, and at a site in Jersey, their remains were found alongside Neanderthal tools, suggesting they were either hunted or scavenged. Some researchers think Neanderthals drove them off cliffs, a tactic that would have required incredible teamwork and nerve. Smaller rhinos, like the Mercs and narrow-nosed species, also roamed the landscape, possibly easier targets but still no pushovers. And then there's the woolly mammoth, the undisputed icon of the Ice Age. These relatives of modern elephants stood up to 10 feet tall and weighed 8,000 to 13,000 pounds. Their long tusks and thick fur making them a symbol of the era. At Spy Cave in Belgium, Neanderthals targeted young mammoths, likely for their brains, which were packed with fatty acids crucial for neural development. The site is filled with young mammoth skulls, showing a deliberate hunting strategy. There's even a wild theory, though no hard proof, that baby mammoths, unafraid of humans like modern elephant calves, might have been kept as pets or livestock. Imagine a Neanderthal kid playing with a fluffy mammoth calf. It's a heartwarming thought in a brutal world. But if you think mammoths were big, the straight-tusked elephant takes it to another level. These giants stood up to 13 feet tall and weighed as much as 26,000 pounds, twice the weight of the biggest mammoths. At a site in Germany called Lingen, a 125,000-year-old wooden spear was found embedded in the rib of one of these monsters. The fact that the spear survived is a miracle, but the idea that Neanderthals took down an animal this massive with simple wooden weapons is nothing short of extraordinary. At Neumark Nord, another German site, they targeted old male elephants, possibly ambushing them near lakes to limit their mobility. These kills weren't just about food. They were feats of prestige, providing enough meat to feed a group for weeks. And with that, we move into a world of even stranger creatures that shared the Neanderthal landscape. The Neanderthal world wasn't just about the giants we've already met. It was sprinkled with creatures so bizarre they'd make you do a double take. Picture this: Mediterranean islands dotted with dwarf elephants, some as small as 3.3 feet tall. Species like Paleoloxodon on Sicily and Malta, or Elephas cypriots on Cyprus, were miniature versions of their mainland cousins. Neanderthals may not have lived on these exact islands, but during warmer periods they could have crossed paths with these tiny titans. Imagine a Neanderthal used to battling massive straight-tusked elephants, stumbling across a herd of these pint-sized versions. It must have been like stepping into a surreal dream. Then there were hippos, not the kind you'd expect in Ice Age Europe, but three species that roamed southern Europe and western Asia during warmer interglacial periods. The largest, Hippopotamus major, weighed up to 7,700 pounds, with some sporting 6 massive incisors instead of the usual 4, giving them a terrifying grin. Hippos are notoriously aggressive, charging anything that gets too close, and while we don't have direct evidence of Neanderthal-hippo clashes, their overlapping ranges mean encounters were almost certain. Picture a Neanderthal fishing by a river, only to see a massive hippo emerge from the water, jaws gaping. That's a story you'd tell for generations. Camels, too, were part of this world, roaming Central Asia where Neanderthals lived. An extinct species, Camelus noblochi, could weigh up to 2,200 pounds, and even today, wild Bactrian camels persist in small numbers. Neanderthals likely hunted these animals, their meat and hides a valuable resource in the harsh steppes. And then there were giant otters like the Sardinian otter, a 9-8-foot-long predator weighing 110 pounds, the largest carnivore on Sardinia and Corsica during the Pleistocene. While Neanderthals may not have reached those islands, smaller Mediterranean otters could have crossed their paths, adding another layer of wonder to their world. These creatures weren't just oddities. They were part of the tapestry that shaped Neanderthal life. Their tools, from spears to knives, were designed to handle everything from massive rhinos to stealthy otters. Their shelters, often caves, were shared with bears and hyenas, forcing them to adapt or fight. Their survival strategies, hunting, scavenging, and maybe even bonding with wolves, were all responses to this wild, unpredictable world. As we near the end of this tale, let's reflect on what it all means for the Neanderthals and for us. This world of towering mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and dwarf elephants wasn't just a backdrop. It was the crucible that forged the Neanderthals. Every hunt, every scar, every tool they crafted was a response to the creatures around them. Their bones tell of broken limbs and bite marks, but they also tell of triumphs. Spear points lodged in lion ribs, mammoth skulls carefully butchered, bear pelts worn as trophies. These weren't just survivors. They were innovators, turning the chaos of their world into opportunity. The need to hunt massive herbivores led to sharper tools and smarter strategies. The constant threat of predators forced them to be vigilant, adaptable, and brave. And in those rare moments of calm, maybe they even found kinship with the wolves that trailed their camps, scavenging leftovers and laying the groundwork for the bond we now share with dogs. This story isn't just about the Neanderthals. It's about us. They were part of humanity's broader saga, a chapter that reminds us how deeply connected we are to the wild. Their courage in facing cave lions, their ingenuity in hunting elephants, their resilience in surviving a world of giants. These are traits we carry forward, even if we don't face the same beasts today. The Neanderthals show us what it means to be human in the rawest sense. To stand up to a world that's bigger, stronger, and fiercer than you, and still come out on top. I'm thrilled to share this journey with you, and I'm part of an even bigger one. A group of us, about 24 archaeology creators, have teamed up to bring you stories like this, grounded in real science and discovery. Check out everyone involved at real-archaeology.org, and you'll find more content to fuel your curiosity. So, what did you think of this dive into the Neanderthal world? Want to explore Homo erectus next? Or maybe the mysterious Homo floresiensis? Drop your ideas in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe to join us on this wild ride through humanity's past. This is the Human Wild, and I'll see you on the next adventure.